Hey guys, here's a quick video for you. Some people have been asking me about how I bundle my slings and cords and stuff together. So I'm going to show you a few different ways on how I do it, and that's mostly based on context. So let's talk about in the rock world, when I just have like 7mm anchor cord right here. Generally, this isn't going to be bundled together for too long, and I'm going to have to untie it to build an anchor or whatever. So I don't really put as much work into bundling this stuff as I do for Glacier stuff. So what I do with this is I just find the knot, make it a loop, and I double it once and then I double it twice. And then now I got it in the smaller package. I hold right here and then grab all 4 of these strands and I just wrap it around in either a figure 8 or maybe a bit more than a figure 8. And I pass those ends up through. And then now it's in this tight little bundle. The great part about this is it's really easy to untie. I just pull this out and the whole thing falls apart. And then that loop is where I put my 2 or 3 or whatever carabiners to hold it together. So that's just a really easy way to bundle stuff together. It's still a nice small tight pile. And I'll do this also with things like this quad sling. So if I'm on a multi-pitch trad climb or whatever, and I'm just bundling this thing up to get to the next anchor above, then I'll do the exact same thing where I just wrap it around in some sort of figure 8, figure 9, multi-wrap sort of deal. And then it just stays on the back of my harness ready to go. And then when I get to the anchor, I can just immediately go into it. Now, when it comes to storing this material for Glacier travel, for one, we want it really tight, really big in a ball, so that way it just stays out of your crampons more, and it's just high and tight on your harness. And another thing is we're not really expecting to use this, so this is more longer term storage. And I'll do the same thing with my double length sling, like this, on my rock climbing harness, because I only use this on the descent, or I'm not really expecting to use this on the way up. So just keeping it in a small tight bundle is great. Now there are a few levels of small tight bundles, and it does depend a bit on the length of your material. So if I take a double length sling, I can get away with doing the whole holding it there, doubling it up, and then doubling it up one more time, so that way it's super small. And then I take one hand and I twist it like this. And I only took about 3 twists. I can fold this together. And so I'm holding that with my thumb, and I can take a carabiner and clip it through all of those. So this totally works. This is a great way to hold your double length sling. This is something that I would do if I was doing a multi-pitch rock climb and I was just using double lengths for all of my anchors on the way up, which I do a lot when I'm doing trad multi-pitch with trad anchors. I'll just bundle it like this on the harness, and then when I get to the top of the next pitch, it's ready to go. But if I want to be able to put more things on that carabiner, or if I just want a tighter bundle that can stay together on its own, that's when I do the more intense version, which what I do is I start with the bone. I can hold it in my hand like that. I bring it up and around, and I do that that was 3 times, but you see how much tail I have? And then you can see the loop with the bone. That's that right there. So I put my thumb through that, and then I can take the core or the tail and I wrap it around once. Make sure that's nice and good. And then I wrap it around a second time, which loops or folds on top of the first one. And then you wrap it up towards your thumb. That's the real key, is it's got to go up towards your thumb. And then now you can see where my thumb is. I have to take this loop and pass it in through where my thumb was. And if you do this really well, you can see how tight that is. Sometimes I have to use the nose of a carabiner and I hook it. Look at that. I can pull, sort of massage some slack out. And then you see how high and tight that is. So the tighter it is, like this isn't going to come undone on its own. And it just holds it higher. So that takes some practice, I will admit. And I do the same thing with the long cords too. like this quad link sling. I just go to the bone, only this time I have a lot more wraps around my hand here. You can count them, I'm not counting them. But the longer slings are also kind of nice because you can have a longer tail. So, whereas the double length slings, you're kind of stuck with the amount of tail. Then I'm just going to pull that tight right there and loop it once. And once I get that first loop, it's pinched on itself. Get my thumb out of there. And then I just pass it in. Same deal. This has been sitting in my little chest, my bin, for the past like year, and it hasn't come undone. So if you get these bundles really tight, they stay where they're at. Now, cord for glacier travel and alpine climbing, I do differently. And the big difference there is, one, it's going to be thinner. So it's going to be like 6 mil, or in this case, this is 5.5 tech mil cord. And I do not keep this cord tied. So there have been climbs where this has become one of my primary anchor cords, and I'll just tie it in a quick knot, and then throughout the climb I'll have it as a loop to use for anchors and stuff. But especially in glacier travel land, I do not keep the cord tied, or in any rescue application land, I don't keep the cord tied. The only time I actually have the cord tied is for my single pitch 7 mil kits right here. So that's the only cord I own that's permanently tied in a knot. So for this one, I'll bundle it up. I start with both the ends right here, and I can hold it in my hand. That's about 4 inches out of one side of my hand. And then I make a loop on the other side, which is also about 4 inches. And then I just butterfly it in my hand back and forth like this. Now I have a decent amount of tail. People will hose themselves by not giving enough tail. And I can bend this, and I hold the top middle part with my thumb. And then same deal as with the cords, you just start low down, cross over the next loop there, and work your way up the cord until you can pass this little end through the top there. Take a carabiner. Then you have a super tight bundle of cord. This is about 20 feet of cord in a really small package, and it's ready to use for anything. So there you have it. That's about all the ways I coil my cord, and different things like you're using it a whole lot, all the way to it's just on your harness if someone falls in a crevasse.